Welcome back. I told you about the exigencies that forced us to bring blunt thoughts to the end of the show, but here it is. And today I've titled it, Tightening the Noose and Turning the Screw, the Ordeal of the Ordinary Ghanaian. Ghana, I've become very blasé with this administration, and justifiably so. I have been and continue to be unimpressed with this administration's style of leadership, which I have termed as misleadership, precisely because those at post have shown me time and again that promises, by and large, will not be kept, and commitments to the people are very often no more than lip service. I was the host of an Africa Center for Economic Transformation event very recently, and I listened keenly to officials from the National Development Planning Commission and their counterparts in India and Kenya. We have great intellectuals who can aid the transformation of our country. The problem, more often than not, is our political leaders. In other jurisdictions, technocrats pull the strings of development. Politicians only facilitate the process through the release of funds and all that. Over here, the reverse is true, because most of our politicians are so bloody corrupt and strive to employ every avenue to line their pockets. Look at the ditch our economy has ended up in. And the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta's comments concerning senior citizens and all of us helping him to help us. How did he help us, I ask? By dumping us in this abyss of misfortune? Is that how he did it? Wow. Just how insulting can our misleaders be? Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, if you could have done what the pensioners were calling on you to do, why did you hold on and make our senior citizens go through hell before budging? Especially when you're a senior citizen yourself. Why? They didn't have to take their coming to picket, beg, and make themselves dirty, so to speak, before you would listen. Did you need the Speaker of Parliament's stinging words, leave pensioner board holders alone, before you would listen to the voice of reason? Did you? But this comes as no surprise. After all, did the President's cousin, Gabi Asare-Okyere-Darko, not add insult to injury by vilifying senior citizens partaking in the picketing of the Finance Ministry? Hold for me, let me go through some of these slides, even before we get to those comments shared on Twitter by Gabi. Our Finance Minister, when senior citizens were picketing, said, "Your continuous picketing over DDEP unnecessary." That was what our Finance Minister had to say to the pensioners. Really, there is no reason for us to be sitting here because that assurance has been given on paper. Now you look at the DDEP and Ken Ofori-Atta's claims that he had exempted pension bondholders. That was just from yesterday. And then you come to what the President's cousin had to say. Interesting. For a former CJ to take up a noble cause such as she did, but at such late hour when all was done, and for all that, I'll just quickly get to that for you. So for a former CJ to take up a noble cause such as she did, but at such late hour when all was done, and for all that publicity, she owed it to herself and her social standing to have understood the issues far better than what she exhibited last Friday. She is bigger than that. The response of the Chief Justice, insults? Insults are the weapon of the pin-brained, or pea-brained if you like. I'm not going to trade words with pin-brains. I am sorry. Gabi Okyere-Darko can call me paranoid. I don't care. We are talking about human beings. We are talking about people who have served this country and have served well and served hard, not easy service. Now you get to the next point about the final results, and that has created some confusion in the minds of people. Let's break it down. The bonds eligible for exchange in billions of cedis. The initial target was 137 billion. The revised target was 132 billion. The second revised target hit 130 billion. And now with the third revision, we're looking at 97.7 billion. But what are the dynamics? You look at the eligible outstanding principals when you're looking at we're talking about the Government of Ghana, ESLA, and the Dache. Eligible outstanding principals for the Government of Ghana, 126.1 billion Ghana cedis. Those for the eligible outstanding principals, 121.4 billion. And it follows all the way through to the end. When you do the sum total, we'll get there. ESLA, 8.4 billion running through, and then Dache, 2.8 billion, now becoming 2.6 billion, and eventually 1.4 billion. You look at the total there, it gives you 38.3 billion. Now, the outstanding principal amounts presented in this press release differ from the outstanding principal amounts in the exchange memorandum because they have been adjusted to deduct. Amounts of eligible bonds held by persons that were not eligible bondholders and that were not eligible to participate in the exchange, and B, amounts held by persons that following the announcement of the exchange converted their eligible bonds to treasury bills. I hope that is creating the understanding. Now, there have been a lot of theories. Let's take a look at some of them. The Bank of Ghana bought dollars from the private sector through swaps, and the banks covered by buying bonds. That's one theory. The other one, the banks told the Bank of Ghana that if they touch those bonds, the swaps will need to be unraveled, and Bank of Ghana will need to pay them back their dollars. And there are also contractors holding bonds connected to some government liability exposures and restructuring those amounts to double default. So those were the points to be made. In the midst of all this, the promising spree continues. We say Agenda 111, and we're going to construct all these hospitals. While we have so many hospitals that are in sore need of refurbishing work. Recently, Ghana4, I read the heartbreaking story of a hospital facility in the Sandema area. That hospital is in the Builsa North municipality in the Upper East region, which is in dire need of renovation to fit its status as a referral center in that municipality. The Builsa North municipality, by the way, has a population of 56,571. Now, during a visit, it was observed that the paint on the walls of this facility had peeled off. Visible cracks on them, most of the louver blades were off. The wire mesh and doors of the wards had been torn off, leaving patients in the wards and staff to the mercy of the weather and reptiles. In fact, staff there say they recently killed a snake at the children's ward. Children's ward! A snake. In fact, if nurses on duty that day had not seen the snake on time, it probably could have bitten anyone at the ward. That is what one of these nurses said. I guess we are just happy as misleaders to slap our name tags on projects and claim we've done something, when in fact all we've done is give a project a name. For how many years have we touted Agenda 111? How many hospitals have we actually constructed? Do you know that? In the meantime, this hospital is playing host to reptiles, snakes in the children's ward of all places. This 93-year-old hospital, established in 1930 to cater for the health needs of residents, was upgraded in 1970 to a health center and subsequently to a district hospital in 1992. And since that time, there has been no renovation till date. We've also been talking about school structures in a rather bad shape lately. You recall our Ghana Schools of Shame documentary, right? Well, now we know students of the Etimetim, Mase, RC Primary and Junior High School in the Efija Kwabre South District of the Ashanti region are asking government to fix their dilapidated structures that they learn in. The students, numbering more than 400, say they are scared to sit and learn under their shaky classroom structures. The school, to boot, also lacks basic study resources, which is greatly affecting their academic work. Sometimes I ask myself, which country does this? Which leaders lead like this? Which politicians fail like ours? Which people are as tame as we are vis-a-vis such terrible leadership? Before I end, let me draw your attention to something. Recently, I saw a story. It said that the Chinese, had started, we know they've been producing bits of cocoa, and we know what the intent is. Let's not even pretend. They are exporting this to Europe and other places, and guess what? Do you know how they are branding the cocoa? Cocoa produced from unpolluted sources, unpolluted land. But we have a lot of them here, contributing to the pollution of our environment. Do you see what is happening? They are saying our cocoa is unpolluted, without saying, like those from Ghana. Last year, we had the Impriaso MP saying, the Chinese are deliberately engaging in illegal mining to destroy our cocoa business. Member of Parliament, Impriaso. This year, we see what is happening. When are we going to wake up? I conducted this exercise last year, and I'd like, as I cap all of this off, to repeat this very simple exercise with you in 2023. I shall take a page extract from Professor Chinua Achebe's masterpiece, The Trouble with Nigeria, published some 40 years ago in 1983. Now, wherever you hear or see Nigeria, I want you to replace it with Ghana. And I want you to tell me whether what he described as far back as 1983 is not exactly what we are witnessing now in Ghana in 2023. Ready? Let's do this. Where the problem lies. The trouble with Nigeria, or Ghana, is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. There is nothing basically wrong with the Nigerian character. There is nothing wrong with the Nigerian land or climate or water or air or anything else. The Nigerian problem is the unwillingness or inability of its leaders to rise to the responsibility, to the challenge of personal example, which are the hallmarks of true leadership. I am saying that Nigeria, or Ghana, can change today if she discovers leaders who have the will, the ability, and the vision. Such people are rare in any time or place, but it is the duty of enlightened citizens to lead the way in their discovery and to create an atmosphere conducive to their emergence. If this conscious effort is not made, good leaders, like good money, will be driven out by bad. The countless billions that a generous providence poured into our national coffers, so reflective of now, in the last 10 years, would have been enough to launch this nation into the rank of developed nations and transform the lives of our poor and needy. But what have we done with it? Stolen, salted away by people in power and their accomplices, squandered in uncontrollable importation of all kinds of useless consumer merchandise from every corner of the globe, embezzled through inflated contracts to an increasing army of party loyalists who have neither the desire nor the competence to execute their contracts, consumed in the escalating salaries of a grossly overstaffed and unproductive public service, and so on ad infinitum. Whenever two Nigerians or two Ghanaians meet, their conversation will sooner or later slide into a litany of our national deficiencies. The trouble with Nigeria, or Ghana, has become the subject of our small talk in much the same as the weather is for the English. But there is a great danger in consigning a life and death issue to the daily routine of small talk. No one can do much about the weather. We must accept it and live with or under it. But national bad habits are a different matter. We resign ourselves to them at our peril. Those are the words of Professor Chinua Achebe, The Trouble with Nigeria, copyright 1983. This, brothers and sisters, is why I do what I do. I don't want to resign myself to fate when a great destiny awaits us all. We do so, as Chinua Achebe makes clear, at our own peril. So the next time it rains and your community gets flooded, you know exactly whom to blame. The leaders who only lead by name, not by action. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I am passionate about Ghana and Africa as a whole. I firmly believe we can change the script of our seemingly woe-begone continent. To do that, though, we need to change the way we think and act and say no to leaders who fail to deliver. These are the means we can employ if we mean to reap the benefits of the manifold resources we've been blessed with as a country and as a continent. These Ghana 4 are my blunt thoughts for you on another Friday morning, served hot, raw, unedited, undiluted. God richly bless Ghana and make her great and strong.